Hey guys, it's Owen from Wrestling Inc. back with another wrestling news roundup. Without any further ado, let's get into today's biggest stories in the world of professional wrestling. Sasha Banks' first public appearance since WWE walkout announced. Sasha Banks hasn't been seen or heard from in public since she and then WWE Women's Tag Team Champion partner Naomi walked out of an episode of WWE Raw 2 months ago, but that's about to change. Banks, who almost has won every single women's championship WWE has to offer, has been officially announced for the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo in August. Quote, "Please join us in welcoming our next C2E2 guest, Mercedes Varnado, Sasha Banks," the C2E2 Twitter account posted early Wednesday afternoon. "Whether you've seen her in the ring or as Costco Reeves in The Mandalorian, you are not going to want to miss out on this photo and autograph opportunity." There's still been no official word on Banks' WWE status since she and Naomi reportedly left their titles on John Laurinaitis' desk back in May. Reports of Banks' release have yet to be confirmed, though the relationship between the parties doesn't seem to be improving, as she and Naomi were reportedly removed from WWE's internal roster. While Sasha Banks is mentioned in the tweet, the photo, and on C2E2's official website, it's notable that Banks is being referenced primarily by her real name, Mercedes Varnado, and none by the Expo's promotional material has mentioned WWE by name. No other current WWE stars are scheduled to appear at the convention, though C2E2 will see appearances from wrestling legends Lita, Mick Foley, and Trish Stratus. According to Fightful Select, the announcement prompted several wrestling conventions to reach out to Banks. However, they were strictly told that Banks couldn't make appearances for them until 2023. Fightful also reached out to other convention organizers who confirmed that they reached out to Banks' representatives and were quoted a firm specific rate. The report added that all wrestling-related promoters who attempted to book Banks were informed that she was only taking non-wrestling related bookings until January 1st, 2023. It's unknown if Banks not accepting wrestling-related bookings is a, quote, personal preference or tied to something contractual, according to Fightful. WWE has still not publicly confirmed or denied Banks' reported release from the company. One wrestling promoter that reached out to Banks Wednesday said they can't imagine her not being released at this point. The several WWE talents that Fightful followed up with are also under the impression that the boss is gone from WWE. We noted previously how WWE Creative is reportedly operating under the assumption that Banks is done with the company, with several high-profile level talents indicating to Fightful that Banks was released last month, confirming earlier reports by Wrestling Inc.'s own Raj Giri and WrestleVotes. Last week, PW Insider reported that Banks may be engaging in some signings outside of WWE as early as this fall. It remains to be seen if those signings would also be non-wrestling related, like the C2E2 or other comic book conventions. Title change on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. New AEW World Tag Team Champions have been crowned during Week 1 of Fyter Fest. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland took home the victory after defeating the Young Bucks and Team Taz in a triple threat bout. The match came to a close after Swerve managed to hit his signature Swerve Stomp right after Lee dove to the outside to take out the Bucks and Hobbs. Swerve would get the 3 count on Starks as confetti erupted into the sky upon the duo's victory. Lee made his debut for the company on the February 9 edition of Dynamite against Isaiah Cassidy in order to qualify for the Face of the Revolution ladder match at the Revolution pay-per-view. Meanwhile, Swerve signed with the company a month later at the Revolution event. The two formed Swerve in Our Glory back at the beginning of May after Lee was being targeted by several other stars for not teaming with them and needed a partner for a match on Rampage. While the two may have gotten off to a bit of a rocky start at the beginning, they have since found their footing and become one of the most over tag teams among fans, proven by the crowd eruption upon their victory. WWE Hall of Famer blasts Chris Jericho as a Shawn Michaels wannabe. Chris Jericho, referring to himself as a living legend on the July 13 AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest episode, did not sit well with two-time WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair. Live tweeting during Jericho's promo segment, Flair would unleash on Jericho, labeling the AEW star a Shawn Michaels wannabe and a Ric Flair never will be. The living legend moniker was made popular by the iconic Bruno Sammartino and Larry Zbyszko in the 70s and 80s. This wasn't the first instance of Flair dragging Jericho. Earlier this year, Flair called out a Bleacher Report writer for an op-ed piece that referred to Jericho as the GOAT of pro wrestling. The writer's argument was that Jericho had surpassed other wrestling legends due to his longevity in the business, finding success in every major promotion over the last 30 years. Subsequently, Flair went on his Woo Nation Uncensored podcast to explain why Jericho doesn't belong in the greatest of all time conversation. Quote, "You can't just take my name off," Flair said. "So Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Steamboat, right? There's nobody, not just Chris, that's ever going to be one of them. Nobody, not me. I was never as technically gifted as any of them. You cannot compare Chris Jericho or anybody else. It's nothing personal against Chris. I have been there. I think he's great. This is nothing against Chris Jericho. But he, nor me, nor a lot of people are going to be Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, or Ricky Steamboat." While it's purely speculation, some believe that Flair repeatedly calling out Jericho could lead to a match between the two legends at the upcoming Ric Flair's Last Match pay-per-view. Flair's opponent has yet to be named for the July 31st event. As noted previously, Jericho is bringing back his Painmaker character for his upcoming Barbed Wire Everywhere match against Eddie Kingston. Woman of Wrestling unsuccessfully tried to bring in WWE Hall of Famer. Women of Wrestling may have a dedicated fan base and several wrestlers who want to push the company to greater heights, but not everyone wants to join in on the action. Fightful Select is now reporting that Women of Wrestling made attempts to get Lita to join the company ahead of announcing their return to television last October. They supposedly wanted to center things around her and add some big name value to their company. Quote, "We were told that things didn't get very far at all, as Lita made it clear that she had no interest in working with WOW Women of Wrestling and specifically David McLane." Fightful also reported that she made her feelings towards McLane known and was quick to turn down their offer, though the report doesn't go on to describe why Lita was so adamant about avoiding McLane. The company then decided that it would contact a variety of female wrestlers who had previous television experience. WOW announced in a major press event this year that they had signed a multi-year deal with Viacom CBS to air new weekly episodes after taking a break at the beginning of the pandemic. The company had also decided they would center their storylines around Tessa Blanchard. Blanchard is a former champion but had a falling out with company officials this past April. It was reported at the time that this began after Blanchard cut a promo on Samantha Sage, also known as Americana, during a class with the roster. The promo reportedly saw the former Impact Wrestling star tear apart Sage, causing others to voice their concerns about working with Blanchard in the future. So what are your thoughts on today's Wrestling News Roundup? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestling Inc. and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.